Marshbanks here, coming at you from Emerson Point Preserve, Florida, which is an estuarine environment located in the Tampa Bay area. I'm going to be doing my project today on Avicennia germinans, which is commonly known as the black mangrove. First, I'm going to talk about the physical/morphological identifying features of the black mangrove. So first and foremost, as you can see, it's a very shrub-like plant. It typically in Florida, it reaches an average height of around 50 feet. However, they're known to exceed 65 feet. In addition, it has very dark brown to black wood. As you can see over here, you can come a little closer. It's pretty dark. And also, primarily to distinguish the black mangrove from white and red mangroves, it has these breathing-like tubes. Seen right here, they're called nematophores. They're also known as dead man's fingers. The function of these is to supply the mangrove with oxygen because it's primarily in a oxygen-poor sediment. So typically the geographic range in the state of Florida ranges from, on the Gulf side, from Cedar Key, Florida to Key West, and on the Atlantic side it ranges from St. Augustine to Key West. So typically mangroves are a tropical species. However, due to climate change in the past couple of decades, they've been reaching more northwards. So in terms of black mangrove habitat, as you can see, we are in a very marshy estuarine environment. And where they are located in relation to other mangroves, they typically live on or behind the high tide water line. Typically, as you can see here, red mangroves, they are usually in the water. They have very arching roots, aerial roots. And here I am by some black mangroves, so they are not as far in the water, which is pretty typical, and you can see their characteristic nematophores. And then typically more inshore, you will find white mangroves. So mangroves, all mangroves have preferred environmental characteristics, and one of these primary ones, as I mentioned, is temperature. So mangroves, they can't survive typically freezes, it'll kill them off. So optimal temperature for mangroves is typically above 66 degrees Fahrenheit. They can survive a minimum of 18 degrees Fahrenheit, which is interesting. So they usually thrive in areas like this, such as Tampa, Florida. In terms of salinity, black mangroves can survive pretty high salinity. Typically they are found in soils of over 90 parts per thousand due to their ability to excrete salt. They do traditionally live in marine environments, but they can survive in freshwater environments. Salt is not a requirement for them. They typically thrive in marine environments because they don't have to outcompete any other plants because they have a great ability to excrete salt and can survive in these environments. The soil pH, it is found that they survive in a pH of 3 to 8, which is pretty wide. So as mentioned, black mangroves, they typically have very dark brown to black wood. And this bark, it contains a lot of tannins, and it's very present in the water surrounding black mangroves, as you can see right here. It gives it a very tea-like appearance, dark tea. I'm now going to talk about the ecological significance of black mangroves. So they actually serve as a habitat for a lot of animals and creatures. This ranges from reptiles, mammals, a whole bunch of invertebrates. Mangroves, actually, they serve as a nursery habitat for a whole bunch of fish as well. Baby sharks, baby fish, even baby sea turtles. One of the main predators to mangroves is actually humans. So humans do a lot of activities that are detrimental to mangroves. This includes dredging, which limits the amount of oxygen mangroves can get. Water pollution, which includes the use of herbicides and oil spills, and also urban development and deforestation of mangroves is highly detrimental to the estuarine environment. So in terms of reproduction, mangroves, they typically reproduce by flowering, usually wind or insects. They pollinate the mangroves, and the propagules are grown on the parent tree, and then they are dispersed around the tree or into the water where the propagule will get transported or stay in the same place, making new mangroves. This is an example of a black mangrove propagule. Here it is up close, hopefully you can see that. Okay, lastly, I'm going to talk about the ecosystem services that black mangroves provide, and all mangroves. First and foremost, mangroves provide a lot of provisioning services to humans. So this includes utilization of wood, and they also, as I mentioned, they provide habitats for a lot of commercially fished fish species. So that provides humans with a lot of resources. Also, mangroves provide a lot of regulating services. So this includes erosion control of coastlines. As you can see, these roots, they are pretty much dug into the sediment, and it helps the sediment stay in place. And lastly, mangroves provide a lot of cultural services. So let's say you want to go for a hike in the mangroves, that's a cultural service that mangroves provide. Or if you want to go kayaking in the mangroves, they also provide a lot of cultural significance for like Native American tribes, etc. And lastly, I wanted to mention that mangroves are a keystone species. So they are a keystone species because they have a disproportionate impact relative to the abundance of the species. So they have a lot of effects on different animal species, as I mentioned, such as reptiles, birds, mammals, even humans. So mangroves are a very important species that we should keep around for the future. And that concludes my project. Thank you very much for watching. Bye!